This is TV18 and you're watching CNBC TV18. Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam in association with News 18 Network.
Hello and welcome to the Curtain Raiser episode of Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam in association with the News 18 Network, a new series dedicated to helping you make informed investment decisions through the world of mutual funds. This initiative centers on long-term investing, targeting diverse audience segments through various content formats. The campaign's goal is to foster positive sentiment around mutual funds and highlight their critical role in our investment portfolios. We aim to inspire individuals to adopt a hero mindset, heroes who prioritize long-term financial security over short-term gratification. Joining us today is a person who actually needs no introduction because he's been one of the tallest, most prominent leaders in the mutual fund industry over the years. Navneet Munot, Chairman of AMFI and Managing Director and CEO of HDFC Asset Management. Navneet, great to have you with us on this special episode right here in the studios. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you, Surbhi, and it's a pleasure. And we are also very happy to start this new series in partnership with CNBC family. And Mutual Fund Sahi Hai is now almost every Indian recite that. SIP has become a household name. It's very flattering for us. It's very heartening for us that now it's not only the mutual fund industry, but a lot of other industries use the word SIP. It's become kind of an, a metaphor for something which is very disciplined, something with long-term orientation, something with consistency. People use the word SIP. It's very flattering for us. And I must compliment you for the role that you have played over the years and also the entire CNBC family for educating investors, for enlightening investors, for empowering investors. So thank you so much. And now, this new journey with you of Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam.
Absolutely. You know what? So CNBC TV18 completes 25 years this year. I have been associated with 20 of those years, in different avatars. And I must say that if you go back in time, I think the last 2 decades have been absolutely awe-inspiring in terms of how the investment landscape has changed, right? You go back to 2005 and 6 when the whole concept of mutual funds was very new to investors. So let's take a step back in history and first understand how you see this whole evolution journey from where we were, around demonetization, and then COVID was another milestone, and where we are today. How have you seen the investor change?
I always say this, Surbhi, that in 1947 we got political independence. In 91, in many ways, was economic independence with liberalization and globalization. 2014 was another milestone year for India because of the Jan Dhan Yojana. 1 billion people got, inducted into the mainstream financial services, the basic, right, starting from the banking account. Somewhere in 2021, I think, going forward, we'll also celebrate something like a Jan Nivesh, right? I think when we are seeing a nation of savers transforming into a nation of investors, and this is just beginning. Talking about the 20-year history, so I remember 20 years back, around 2002 or so, the total industry AUM was 1 lakh crore.
Yes.
And in 2014, it was 10 lakh crores. And today we are talking about 67 lakh crores. So it's been a long time. And being part of this industry as a fund manager and in different roles, and it's very, very heartening and very humbling, the growth that we have seen in the industry.
Absolutely, and it's astounding, right? I think the last numbers, the monthly numbers, so viewers, you'd know that every month AMFI, which is the industry body, it releases the numbers, money coming into mutual funds, money going out of mutual funds, and net, all things put together. Can you imagine this? Almost 42,000 crores has come into equity mutual funds alone in the month gone by, and this is the month where the market was correcting. So therefore, now at a behavioral level, what is the change that you've seen over the last couple of years, and what do you think has triggered it?
Yeah, one of the biggest thing, and I will give a lot of credit to our regulator and the industry body AMFI, particularly on this focus on the investor education. I don't think there is any other part of the world where the industry has worked in such a focused manner, in such a collaborative manner, in such a thoughtful manner, with a mission to empower investors, educate investors, enlighten investors. And then the whole campaign of Mutual Fund Sahi Hai, where we are selling the product not as making money in the short run, but how to have a long-term orientation, how to think about financial planning, how to think about investing for your retirement. I think that has made a lot of difference. And in last couple of years, thanks to efforts of you, thanks to effort of our distributors and advisors, thanks to the effort of all the industry players and the ecosystem players, now investors are showing that signs of maturity that even in a month like October, where markets were so volatile, we saw record high SIP flows.
So let's talk about this campaign before I get to a lot of the other interesting aspects that we want to touch upon. Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam.
Yes.
Tell us more about the concept.
So people know mutual fund sahi hai. They need that. Savings won't create a retirement nest for you. Savings won't be able to give you what you need to meet all your life goals. But how do we take it to the next level? All said and done, there are only 5 crore unique investors in mutual fund industry. So we have a long way to go. And on the other side, even those 5 crore investors also need a lot more handholding in terms of are they investing in the right manner. So Sahi Kadam is, आपका विश्वास हो गया कि म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, मुझे ये करना है, लेकिन कैसे करना है? And I think that is a partnership.
Okay,
it is
so
the next step.
2.0.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what AMFI's effort is now.
Okay.
How do we take mutual fund sahi to the next level?
Which brings me to some of the newer trends in the last couple of years as we've seen the industry evolve. So many different products are coming through, right? There are active funds and now there are passive funds. There are funds on newer indices and there's something called quant investing and quant-based funds, so on and so forth. I mean, there are thematic funds. Somewhere do you feel that it's getting maybe a little too complicated, or are investors well equipped to handle it all?
At individual level, they are not complicated. But अगर आप सबको साथ में देखेंगे, it'll look like, oh, it's quite complicated. How do I choose? But that's the journey starting from here on. And I'm sure you'll be meeting a lot of other experts. You'll be meeting a lot of other people, including our advisors and distributors. How do we ensure that investors don't, think that it's a very complex thing. It's not for me. They have a faith in mutual fund sahi hai, but to ensure that can we communicate in the simple most way? How do we simplify the journey that they have? Where should they start? And how should they go about their journey?
So here, let me ask you this. Typically, we always hear the advice that you should get a trusted, certified financial advisor / financial expert to help you make these decisions. But at the same time, we're living in the fintech era where you can buy and sell mutual funds in less than, I think, half a second. So again, what are you noticing around you in terms of investor profile and investor understanding levels? And, how do you decide what's the right approach?
The positive aspect, as I said, that a lot of investors are taking the SIP route. A lot of investors are thinking about the long term. They are not getting swayed by the market volatility. On the other side is the new investors who have come. So industry had only 2 crore investors 5 years back. Now we have 5 crore. These new investors want to be more engaged. They want to be more informed. They want to kind of know a lot more. The level of curiosity is much higher. The level of experimentation is also a lot higher. They are looking at sector and thematic funds, as you said, some of the other categories of fund, which historically investors were kind of averse of.
Talking about goal-based planning, right? There's a traditional approach to having a long-term roadmap. 5 years I need to do this, 7th year I need to buy a house, and 10th year I'm getting married, 15th year I'm having children, and in the 25th year I'm retiring. But as we see all around us, life is no longer that straight line. How can mutual funds cope with this ever-changing reality? And how can investors still use the systematic investment route while the world around them is spinning very fast?
So life, as you said, won't be a straight line, right? There would be ups and downs. And this is what precisely we say. Markets will have their ups and downs. Economies or businesses will go through their cycles. What we are trying to do is, but if you have an end goal in mind, then in between, if there is a traffic, in between there is something bump in the road, you know that where you need to reach and how do you navigate that journey. This is precisely our intent over the next couple of months to work with you on Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam.
Okay, so give us a peek. What can people expect as the campaign rolls out? What are the aspects that you would want to touch upon?
Many things, as you said, that people are reading mutual fund sahi hai. Just go to the website somewhere, just look at highest performing fund. There's something called a recency bias. Recency bias is you look at which fund category or which particular fund has done the best in last 6 months or 12 months. And you just extrapolate that for the next 6 or 12 months. But that's not the right way of investing. The journey has to start with setting your goals. Journey has to start with understanding yourself. So we say that, I'm just putting one thing. So we all talk about KYC. We did a campaign, KYC Aasan hai, dispelling the myth around the KYC. And then once you have done KYC, but then more important is UIC. Understand your customer, understand yourself.
Yeah.
What's your risk appetite?
Yeah.
If you put 100% in equity, you can think, okay, I'm investing for long term. Doesn't matter, market goes up and go down. But if markets are down 10%, can you stomach that volatility, or will you have butterflies in your stomach?
Yeah.
If you have butterflies, then you need to think about, is 100% okay for me?
We should take a quick break on that note. We'll come back on the other side and talk about some of the newer aspects that investors want to experiment with, whether it's global markets, whether it's newer ways of investing, slightly more complex strategies. So how will the mutual fund world perhaps meet all these expectations? We discuss this on the other side.
Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam in association with News 18 Network.
ਐਂਟੀ ਨਾਰਕੋਟਿਕਸ ਟਾਸਕ ਫੋਰਸ ਹਾਈਲੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਬੰਦੇ ਹਾਇਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਲਾਅ ਅਫਸਰ ਹੋਣ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਫੋਰੈਂਸਿਕ ਦੇ ਹੋਣ, ਚਾਹੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਂਚ ਦੇ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਹੋਣ, ਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ।
भगवंत सिंह मान जी की जो एंटी नारकोटिक्स टास्क फोर्स है, इसमें कन्विक्शन रेट इज़ एज हाई एज 81%। व्हाट्सएप चैटबोट एंटी ड्रग हेल्पलाइन जिसका नाम है सेफ पंजाब, भगवंत सिंह मान जी ने इसीलिए लॉन्च करी थी कि लोगों को हमसे भी ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन होती है कि कौन नशा बेच रहा है, कहाँ बेच रहा है। 457 पे एक्शन भी लिया जा चुका है, जैसे कि रेड करना उनके घर पे या फिर FIR करना।
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਲਾਨਤ ਹੈ, ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੜੀ ਅੱਛੀ ਸੋਚ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ੀਰੋ ਟੋਲਰੈਂਸ ਰੱਖੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ।
ਲਾਅ ਐਂਡ ਆਰਡਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਢਿੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਹੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ। 3.5 ਕਰੋੜ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਲਦਸਤਾ ਹੈ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਾਡਾ, ਸੋ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜਾਨ ਮਾਲ ਦੀ ਰਾਖੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈ।
Under the leadership of Chief Minister Bhagwant Singh Mann, the Punjab government has a zero tolerance policy against drugs. Another strict step by the Punjab government, Safe Punjab, anti-drug helpline and WhatsApp chatbot. For complaints, message us at 97791 00200. Join us in the fight against drugs.
From backing global trade ambitions here to delivering on that promise here. Access growth opportunities in the world's most dynamic markets with Standard Chartered.
Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam in association with News 18 Network.
Welcome back. You're watching the curtain raiser episode of Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam in association with the News 18 Network. We're in conversation with Navneet Munot, who has been enlightening us on how investor psyche, behavior and mindsets have been evolving as we've gone forward in this journey from being savers to becoming investors.
Nation of investors.
A nation of investors, absolutely. And that journey is well and truly on. So this nation of investors likes to try all things new, Navneet. You know that better than anyone, right? When they hear crypto markets are buzzing, suddenly everybody gets this FOMO saying, "Arey, crypto mein lagana chahiye." When they hear the US equity market is booming and Nvidia ka stock bhag raha hai, to you feel, "Arey, mujhe Nvidia bhi chahiye." So, I mean, as an industry participant, how do you, react to, or what do you feel about this tendency of the investor?
No, as I said, that people are a lot more, I think, experimental these days. But at the same time, I talked about the evolving needs or the evolving solutions, but also you need to keep in mind, fundamental tenets of investing don't change. I'll just tell you about one thing. So let's say asset allocation, the importance of that. And in 1 minute, concrete is the second most used material after water. We don't know this. Concrete is the second most material. What is concrete and why it builds the building? It's because it's so versatile, so flexible. It has sand, it has cement, it has water and gravel. I think 3 or 4 in a particular proportion. And that's why the building is like solid, or the structure, any infrastructure it is used. Similar for your portfolio, right? Think of that analogy. You need to create that solid structure like a concrete by having that diversification.
Whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, taxation does end up having a huge bearing on people's investment decisions. And in an ideal world, it shouldn't happen. But in the real world, it's happening. So how should investors navigate this? Because typically they'll say, कि, okay, instead of fixed deposits, इस पे 30% tax जाएगा, यहाँ पे 20 है, यहाँ पे 12.5 है, तो इधर करो, उधर करो. How do we get out of this loop?
Once you have set your goal, your return expectations from each asset class, your risk appetite, your time horizon, your liquidity needs, taxation, these are some of the important things you need to keep in mind. Taxation is just one of them. It should not be overpowering. It should not be the, factor on which you decide what my asset allocation should be. It's an important one, right? Because you're looking at returns post-tax.
So going forward, I mean, if you were to sort of project the next 5 years for this investment journey from a nation of savers to a nation of investors, what do you think we'll see ahead? Next 5 years?
Many things. First of all, this 5 crore number has to increase substantially. Even if I look at the number of people who got the demat account, which means either they are trading in the market, investing directly, or investing in IPOs, etc., there are a couple of crores of investors who are yet to invest in mutual funds. So first, I think that's our target. And then you have like many other families who are yet to invest. And that's the target of Nivesh Ka Sahi Kadam with CNBC family, that people know that mutual fund sahi hai. They are seeing people around them who are investing. Like, a lot of people in let's say, the lower strata of society, the myth that, no, I think it may require a lot of money, but you can start with 500 rupees. And regulator is working with us. How can we reduce that amount even more? And how do we bring in more number of investors who want to create wealth in a disciplined manner over a long period?
So from an industry perspective, how can the industry ensure that, like you're saying, the right kind of products are sold to the right kind of people? Because someone who's absolutely new in tier 2, tier 3 may not have the kind of level of exposure or knowledge or information as someone staying in Mumbai here, experimenting with a momentum quality 50, one of these high-flying index funds. So how can the industry do its part?
This is precisely. I think there are very few industries, not only in India but in the world, who spend so much of time thinking about the customers all the time, in a sense that the whole campaign of mutual funds is not only about selling the product, it's about selling the product, and Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam is towards that we ensure that we deliver a track record, which we continue to build. Now there are a lot of funds with 25, 30, 20 year plus. We continue to remain as transparent as possible. This level of transparency you don't get in any other product. We continue to leverage the power of technology, and we continue to focus on training. So 4T, to ensure that we build the trust. We have to earn the trust of crores of investors to keep growing this story.
True. Since I brought up the whole concept of these index funds, and you have some very, very colorful funds these days, which could be following quality, momentum, value, so many different approaches. As we go forward, again, talking about the next 5 years, will some of these passive strategies, these new passive kind of funds, will they cannibalize a little bit of the actively managed mutual funds, or will both grow?
In India, I think it's too early to think about active funds versus passive funds, mutual fund versus alternatives, PMS versus mutual. Everything will grow in India. Okay. I think we are at the very early stage of financialization of savings. There's still, the penetration is very small. We have a long way to go, and everything will grow. Active funds will grow, passive funds will grow, alternatives will grow. Everything will grow.
It's a great time to be either a fund manager or a wealth manager, right? Whenever I meet, because I do the personal finance show as well, whenever I meet wealth managers, they have the widest smiles on their faces, because there's a long runway ahead for that business.
We are all lucky to be in India at this time. I think we have an aspirational population, one that they feel they need to create wealth over a long period, and now they are getting educated and empowered to really meet that dream.
And the regulator has been as active as ever, right, in looking at investor protection, investor awareness. A lot of new things are being considered. Now there's this concept of this new asset class, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little more
There are
about
many
it.
things. New asset class or regulator is trying that. How do we make the product more accessible in many things? And a new asset class again is like a product innovation where mutual funds where you can start with a very small amount, but if you want maybe a product which is, let's say, slightly higher on the risk spectrum but can potentially deliver higher returns, then you have to do, let's say, a PMS or an alternative fund where the minimum amounts are 500 rupees per month in let's say an SIP.
mutual
Some
fund,
fund houses may have even lower than that, or you have minimum 50 lakh in PMS or a minimum 1 crore in AIF. But you can create another category between those two for certain set of investors who are willing to take higher risk.
So this new asset class, there I think the
Exactly.
thresholds they're discussing are about 10 lakhs, minimum investment of
Absolutely.
10 lakhs. So I know it's very early days, but how is the industry approaching it?
Leveraging on the capability that this industry has built of investment management, risk management, product management, and servicing the investor rightly. So I mean, there would be all kinds of innovations over the years.
Now, I think one grouse or not complaint, but one issue that investors have, especially now looking at the way global markets are shaping up, is that they're not being able to take too much part in global equities through Indian mutual funds because of regulatory issues, right? I think there are certain caps in place.
$7 billion cap by RBI. We are hoping as an industry that at some point in time it is enhanced, and there are a set of investors who are looking at diversification. We talked about the importance of diversification and risk management before. There are investors who want to explore investing outside India, and as an industry we hope that as that limit get enhanced, there'll be more opportunities for investors.
So Navneet, coming down to final thoughts, I mean, what we've discussed is very exciting and there's so much that's waiting to explode and happen. But what are the rules of proper investing? And let's come back to the theme, right? Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam. What should people keep in mind to ensure that they're taking Nivesh ka Sahi Kadam?
Exactly. So I always say that the formula for wealth creation is STP: sound investment plus time plus patience. So starting with the P, the patience gets tested in these kind of markets, right? What exactly is the patience? What we mean by the patience? Time, like what is the right time horizon for you? And the sound investment. What exactly is the sound investment? Do you just go to the website and look at the highest performing fund? Do you just go to the some app and look at the fund that has delivered the best in last 6 months, 1 year, or a category of funds? Is that the right way of investing? Not really. How do we have a holistic journey, starting from understanding your needs, what is the money that you can invest every month, what is the lump sum money that you have, and understanding those things that we discussed about, that your return expectations, your risk appetite, understanding your time horizon, liquidity needs, taxation angle, and we provide you a right solution for each individual.
So let's end on that personal anecdote. When family members and friends ask you कि ये fund सही है कि नहीं सही है, what all do you tell them to look at? What should one consider?
I generally tell them that either you spend a lot of time and you understand this and you want to do it yourself, but otherwise I always tell them, get a good advisor, get a good distributor who can help you in that journey. This is very important. It's just like, I mean, for our, if we have a fever, we can take a medicine, but for a lifelong, you need like somebody who you want to consult for everything.
All right, Navneet, thank you so much. This was an excellent conversation and one that's charged us up for what lies ahead, really. So thank you for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you. Happy to be part of Nivesh Ka Sahi Kadam.
Looking forward to so much more. Well, viewers, that wraps up our curtain raiser episode for Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh Ka Sahi Kadam in association with News 18 Network. Remember, this is just the beginning. There is a lot coming up ahead in the coming weeks as we talk about taking that step from becoming a nation of savers to a nation of investors using mutual funds as our key vehicle.
Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Nivesh Ka Sahi Kadam in association with News 18 Network. DBS presents CNBC